Live.
We are live. That was a great session. Awesome and very great shares, which, as Manoj knows, we'll upload that on our on our Mindful Men's YouTube page. We're just working on it at the moment, so as soon as it's live, we'll definitely let you know on the Facebook group as well as the Instagram group. But yeah, I just want to say thank you for everyone that was sharing, because there were a lot of deep shares today, and I'm sure Manoj and Viraj will agree. Not just the books, but there's so many book links, and as always, so many lovely YouTube links which I haven't even got through yet. But I'm sure when I actually open up the tabs and upload it, it will be something fascinating for me to listen to later on. So thank you so much as always to everyone that's shared, and I'm glad. I think you said someone, Manoj, you were just saying earlier that, of course, someone actually mentioned that 2 weeks ago when we were when Havan was explaining something on the spirituality, that they've actually reflected on it and done their own research, which is great, right? Which is what we want. So
absolutely. So just to put it into context for people who obviously may not have joined the live, and for all the women in our group, I always give them a big massive shout out, because they're huge supporters of ours, and unfortunately they can't join the live because they understand it's for men, and we have our sister group as well, called Minali, called Mental Wealth. To put it into context, 3 weeks ago we did a topic called Introduction into Spirituality, where it's safe to say we explored a lot of avenues of spirituality, and then we were requested by the men in the group to go a bit deeper. So we aptly named the topic Going Deeper into Spirituality. So we delivered that today as a follow-on session, and the whole takeaways, but it was just beautiful to acknowledge, and I think acknowledge is the right word for who showed up today, and also who show up behind the scenes, right? Because you don't have to show up physically to be present in the moment. There was a lot of chat going on, which I'm sure you guys I haven't digested it yet, but you guys were going through, and there was also some beautiful stories, and the essence of what we covered today, and certainly for me anyway, is that spirituality is something that absolutely should be accessed by all from an early age, but it has to be lived and experienced, and it can't be forced. And it doesn't necessarily have to come from religion, but it can. It doesn't have to necessarily come from science, but it can, like one of the men in the group found based on the talk that Havan did a couple of weeks ago. And it can come from a place of beauty, or it can come from a place of pain. But the whole essence of spirituality is that you have to shift from a fixed mindset and change the narrative that has been programmed through social conditioning. I won't go too much into that because you get me started on a different topic. Through our parents, through society. Exactly, it is a topic. In fact, we're going to do that topic, aren't we, in a few weeks, about social conditioning and just how detrimental it can be and how powerful it can be, depending on which way you look at it. And the essence for spirituality, for me, not that I'm an expert, because I'm not, so please don't take anything I take as gospel. It's just something I'm experiencing right now, is that it humbles you. And when you come from spirituality, knowing that the ego is always there, but you're there to tame the ego, because of the material world that we live in. Let's face it, ego comes and goes, right? It's like moon. It's like the moon energy, where you have an eclipse. I always have this visualization in my head where when I see an eclipse of a moon, it actually reminds me that my ego is still there. So, and it can come back at any moment. And I think spirituality for me is a way of expressing yourself authentically with the right, quote, intention to serve others and empower others, and not even empower, but just plant the seeds of how it's helped you individually. And it's, you're not there to force it with your children, with your partners, because you can't. Like religion, you just, I mean, well, you can argue you can with religion because it's shoved down our throats since we're babies, right? You get born into sometimes into religion. But spirituality for me is something that's so beautiful that everyone can experience, everyone will experience. It's so simple to access, but so extremely difficult to sustain. And I think that's the way I'd probably describe my personal experience, but I don't know what you guys think.
I agree. I think the entry points are, that it can come in at any time, any place. It's something that's always there, and it is one of those things that you can't force it onto anyone, because we all have our different version, our own different meaning, our own different interpretation of it, because our entry points are all different. Like for some, it has been something that, let's say, has been a part of their life ever since they were born. And Manoj, as you said, like there's a moment of pain and you want to seek some clarity and you find that route. I suppose my idea of spirituality is to first seek to understand before to be understood. And what I mean by that is, what is it that I truly feel from my own space? Like, where am I coming from first and foremost, so that I know where I'm at, and then to be able to engage and be free with other people, irrespective of what their thoughts, feelings, and opinions are. Because one of the things that we talked about was the need to have discourse and actually engage with people that you disagree with, because it's not about creating an echo chamber where you hear all of the same thing just to prove yourself right, because that's where ego comes in, right? You hear the same thing often and often, you begin to believe that your truth is truth. And one of the quotes was, there is no monopoly on truths. And I feel that particularly for this day and age right now, where there's such an emphasis on material things, which can be quite shallow, you know, and we talked about how right now we're making judgments on people based off their skin color. We talk about how someone's self-worth is determined by the things that they have rather than the person that they are. And all of these things are totally external, where when you look at it from a spiritual perspective, and there's different levels and there's different things, but it's how do you label things in life? Are you coming from as neutral a position as possible, so that you're not directly or indirectly enforcing your own judgment, views, and opinions in your ego? Or are you just there to serve from a place of wanting to know more about someone, so that if there's a way that you can serve them, great, and then detaching if it's not you, if you're not the right person to do it. But I mean, there's still so much we can talk about.
There's so much, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of the men say, can we have a third session or continue a session where we do spirituality almost like every month or every quarter? I don't know, I'm just putting it out there. But going back to labels, like the universal truth for me about spirituality is it has no labels. Like it has no, it doesn't mean that, and I talked about it, didn't I, earlier on in the session, like it doesn't mean that if I see a person of stature that they're spiritual, or if I see a person of cloth that they're spiritual. And I'm not talking about any particular religion, but I'm talking about all religions, and even people who are, I guess, celebrity A-listers that we sometimes blindly follow, right, on Instagram and Facebook. I mean, let's just be honest with you. I'll put my hands up. I used to do that as well. I don't anymore. But we put people on a pedestal, don't we, in life? And we think that they're spiritual because someone's sharing a Zen moment. Like, spirituality is not necessarily about being in a Zen moment. A Zen moment you experience throughout your life by just being present, forgetting about the past, not dismissing it, but knowing that it doesn't exist in this current moment, and not having the anxiety and worrying about your future. And part of spirituality for me is about being really, really, really present. And for those that, you know, and I talk about this a lot, and I walk because I'm just absolutely in love with nature, that the walks that I go through, I get some some next level Zen moments. Right? I'm not going to go on here and talk about it. I'll write about it. I like writing a lot, right? But it's about connecting at source. And that source is understanding that the consciousness that we have, actually, there's an action and a reaction. If I say something, there's a reaction. If I don't say something, there's an equal reaction.
A reaction to
saying something. Absolutely. And one of the guys that mentioned it, I won't mention any names, but one of the guys, actually 2 or 3 of the men who mentioned it, is that it's a shift in consciousness and knowing that you don't have to win every argument, because that's your ego coming into place. And sometimes, and the visualization I had, and I think I touched on it, is that, you know, when you get into an exchange and it's negative energy, and you guys don't know that I don't do negative energy, right? And it happened to me recently. And the best way I can describe it is if someone's going, yeah, and they're being negative, and it could be a colleague, a sibling, your child, your partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, mom, dad, it doesn't really matter. But having the discipline and consciousness to know that that's a flame. And what happens to a flame? If I fan the flame, it increases, right? If I don't give my energy to it, it cannot breathe. Fire doesn't exist without oxygen. So then I just stayed silent. And when I stayed silent, I reflected on it, and I thought, wow, the Manoj a few years ago, I definitely would have said something, right? And the guys who know me, who grew up with me, knows that I speak my mind. But part of spirituality is self-discovery, and it's understanding and internalizing, like you said, Viraj, about being self-aware. Like in this day and age, IQ is thrown at us, right? Well, IQ is flawed. Intelligent quotation is absolutely flawed. Now, only recently, last 10 years ago, and I've been, I've been immersed in this, thankfully, because I've got some beautiful spiritual friends. It's about EQ, your emotional quotation, right? But only now on LinkedIn, last 2-3 years ago, people are talking about it. And some people incorporable. If I say, what's your EQ? They're like, huh? What are you talking about? Looking at it as if I've got a low IQ. Yeah, I'll settle for having a low IQ any day. But then there's another level, which I learned on the Gita Life course, right? At Watford Temple, which I just brought a smile to my face knowing that it's opening soon, but that's a separate topic. But about SQ, SQ. So you've got IQ, you've got EQ, and you've got SQ. So IQ is like the intelligence to understand that you can consume a higher source of knowledge, and that is inner awareness, and that's described as EQ. And then EQ is a door or gateway into discovering your spirituality, which is SQ, which was the whole essence of this topic, right? So I just wanted to put that into context. But I mean, I can talk about this for hours, but I'll leave it there.
No, I mean, we've got a few people engaging in the chat as well. We've got Aman saying that, yes, it should be a journey, Yuvraj. Spirituality is about awareness of the present without being attached to the past or haggling over the future, being still in the present. And you know what? It's something that you said earlier, it's like the past is over the moment that it happens, yet we continue to believe that it's the truth. So we have these experiences in our past which we're attached to, and we make judgments and decisions based on those things, but it's over. At the moment it happens, it's over. So what are we holding on to? Because someone said something to us when we were kids, or our parents said something to us about that. How much of that is just blocking our growth, whether in IQ, EQ, and SQ, because we're reacting. And similarly, when we're thinking about that and projecting that into our future, like where are we actually living? Because the only moment is now, and the whole essence of spirituality is just in the present moment, be and act from that place.
Absolutely, and thank you to I think it was Yuvraj who recommended. I mean, he's recommended quite a few books I'm going through, but a book that I've just finished recently reading. I say reading. I don't process information like reading books. I found that out late in life. Hence why I didn't do too well in school. I'm an audiovisual person, so I've downloaded an app that everybody knows, and it's the best app in the world, Audible. So when I go through my walks, I'm literally going through books like it's anything, and I'm 45 years old. I've only read 3 books as hard copy books, embarrassingly saying this on the Facebook Live, but I've set myself a nice challenge, and at the end of 2020, I'll be reading 50 books. And it's not to show anything, to show anyone, or it's not me stroking my ego. It's just understanding that you can access information, but we just access information in a different way. And my way just happened to be Audible. I can't just read books. And why am I saying this? Because the book that I just finished is called The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle. And the whole essence of the book is about accessing, processing, understanding, and being aware that anybody can be spiritual. And I won't sort of spoil the book, but I mean, you can't spoil it. You can listen to it over and over again. It's got so much depth and meaning, but the whole essence of it is that you need to be spiritual to attain to that state of label and enlightenment. There isn't enlightenment. It's just being present in the moment and connecting to source and understanding and being grateful what's happening in your life right now, right here, like this moment right now, and appreciating what is going on all around you. Because we talk about life with our 5 senses, and I was listening to a TEDx talk this morning about a guy who was blind, who challenged in a nice way, Tim Billion, the host, which I listen to every day as well. impact theory, and he goes, why do people of sight think that they're more enlightened to what they're seeing than people who are not sighted? I won't even say blind, actually, because that's not politically correct, who aren't sighted. And it's interesting. And he bought a cement factory, and he was born unsighted, and he came out of it from rags to riches story. It was like a multi-millionaire, but that's not the essence of it. He said, in society, everybody thinks that they're seeing things through clarity and a lens, but actually you have a veil in front of you, and that veil is this materialistic world that we live through. I don't have the luxury of having that veil, so I've got the veil open. So I've got a blank canvas. I mean, can you just imagine what it would be like to not even see? Like if you just close your eyes for a second and you just see.
But it's interesting when we seek
darkness.
clarity, when we're meditating, we close our eyes. Because the senses, our senses perceive what's going on around us materialistically. We talk about spirituality, when we talked about the quantum field, that's vibration energy. You don't need those quote unquote 5 senses to feel that, right? Like we talk about gut feeling and intuition and all that kind of stuff. That's not a sensory way in which we feel, taste, see, hear, and touch. And I think that kind of encapsulates in a nice way what spirituality kind of is as well, in the sense of sometimes you don't need to materialistically see something or perceive something in order to transform something. And as you said, just because you see doesn't mean you can actually see.
No, absolutely. And as parents, you know, me and you both, we talked about this on the chat as well, that you can't force spirituality, and it can never be forced. You can sprinkle the seeds and watch them being nurtured, but you can't force, like it's no different from, like, you can't force a seed to be a certain flower, for example, and grow in a certain direction. It's same as life, right? So you can plant the seeds and have your consciousness in a state of a healthy state, to know that your intention behind planting the seed is only not to be prescriptive, but to be suggestive to, actually, this is a beautiful experience that I'm experiencing. I would love for you, because you're part of somebody who I care about, in my influence, if you like, influence being family, friends, etc., partners, for you to experience what I'm experiencing. And it's not because I'm on a Zen state and you're not, or I'm on this level. There are no levels to spirituality. This is the whole essence to it, that it's, I mean, yeah, I can go, yeah.
Well, there's a great comment in the chat, actually, Manoj. I think it's a really, really interesting comment here from Deepa, who's asked.
From who, sorry?
From Deepa Patel. Okay. I feel it is self-discovery. Self-discovery is not an answer, and it cannot be obtained through any principles or concepts. So I think it's a very interesting take, because the way I see that is yes, to a certain extent, you do need teachers and guides. It's not that you can sort of, to a certain extent, you can create your own spirituality. However, I feel that you do need guides and mentors with anything in life that you identify with as congruent to your values, that can help you begin to take that journey. I don't think spirituality is something that you can say, I'm going to read this holy book and then I'm going to practice it, because you're still going to have questions. And
yeah, this is an interesting topic, I can relate to both sides. Can you just read that again? Read the comment, please?
She's followed up with that comment, which is great. So the first part was, I feel it is self-discovery is not an answer, and it cannot be obtained through any principles or concepts. Followed up by, because principles and concepts create conflict in oneself and judgment, because it becomes about becoming. See, I think it is all about the being. Because
no, but I think I understand. Is it Deepa?
Yes, Deepa.
Yeah. So I think I totally get what Deepa is actually saying, because when you have the constructs of what society tells you how to access spirituality, that's also a dangerous thing. And I'm not going to get into the whole subject of religion, because religion is just a doorway into spirituality, but actually it has no natural fusion with it. Like it's just your doorway. One of the men mentioned that his doorway was science. Doorway by meaning access, yeah, your entry point, right? My way was discovering energy and just understanding how energy works, right? So everyone, I completely get what Deepa's saying, because
Yeah.
it's a dangerous game if we say that if you follow this path, you will be spiritual. If you read this book, you'll be spiritual.
Not a
If you
one-size-fits-all
prescribe to this person, you be spiritual. It's not. You have to experience it.
Yeah.
You have to feel it, and you have to live through it. And spirituality can come from a place of pain, which is perfectly okay. And you're almost like a phoenix, right? Like having a rebirth. Or it can come from a place of beauty, and that's okay as well, because we all come from different backgrounds, and our journeys are very different. So
I think ultimately in what you're saying, one needs to be inspired, irrespective of the source of inspiration. It can be from a place of pain, or it can be from a place of beauty. Like you could be so pleased by something that you see, like let's say something in nature, right? You could be in nature and be totally connected to being in that natural environment, that you see yourself as part of the oneness and the singularity of everything. Or you could be in a position of pain and then see, okay, there's too much of an attachment here. I need to learn to detach and connect to something beyond a thing.
Yeah, you can have a catalyst
Exactly.
that sparks your curiosity and your thirst for knowledge, that transcends into your journey into spirituality. That's perfectly fine and normal, and that happens every day, right? To different people every single day. But it's not a precursor to enter it. But of course, 100%, like there's always some kind of spark or catalyst that would start that journey for everyone, and that journey is individual. We had how many men? Like we had every single person, every single story was completely individual to their journey, and that's the whole essence of spirituality. Like when there is no right or wrong answer. Like we were talking amongst people who just, I'm grateful that we all embraced our spirituality. So we couldn't even say that is right or wrong, and there is no right or wrong. And going back to what you said earlier, one of the points is that, quote unquote, and me and Saga covered this at huge depth, is that having expectations and judgments is a dangerous formula in life, even with the right intentions. Yeah, even with the right intentions. Saga, you mentioned the story about cleaning and something about your ex-partner and all that, and I mentioned something, and I think Viraj mentioned something with his kids and all that. Expectation and judgment is a very dangerous thing. Aspiration is more healthy, right? Expectation, in my opinion, I'm happy to sort of have a conversation with anyone on live here, but is a dangerous thing.
And I think that's the other thing is I think that's just the way we've been brought up, right?
Social conditioning, right? So which is going to be a topic that we're going to discuss very soon.
Because, see, we're saying this because we've grown in our journey, whichever way it is, spirituality or
still growing, yeah.
Right. However, we're saying expectations is a bad thing, but if we're talking to someone and they're expecting something, let me get this right. If you're talking to someone and they've got expectations, we can't then also have a go at them for having expectations because do you see? Do you understand?
Yeah.
We're saying this, which is good, but then if someone else says, "Well, I've got expectations, and this is why," then we can't have a go at them for having expectations because we don't have expectations.
But that comes down to your energy. So where are you coming from? Yeah. Your frequency. So frequency meaning, are you coming, and I'm not going to go into this because we had a whole discourse on this, right? But frequency meaning, are you coming from a frequency of unhealthy frequency? So a low frequency, and people can Google this, right? It's all measured in frequency. Where you're coming from shame is like one of the lowest, shame, guilt, anger. Or you coming from a frequency of love, peace, harmony, gratitude, and it's the vibration that you put out. You attract, it's not a cliche, you literally attract what you put out. And the beautiful thing about difference between humans and energy is that humans can lie every day, right? I've told quite a few lies in my life. I'm not going to say saying I'm an angel, I'm not, but energy never lies. You know how energy reveals itself in a room before somebody speaks? That's the beautiful thing about energy. But don't get me started.
A great point here in the chat as well. Vijay's replied, the key to spirituality is that it's not the same as religion. religion is a social and cultural construct, and hence why it creates conflicts. Basic spirituality is much purer. And you're right as well. Expectations and unfair judgments stem from one's ego. And I think both of those comments really kind of encapsulate what we sort of discussed, is that ultimately, I'm going to start with Yuvraj's comments, is that expectations and unfair judgments stem from one's ego. So it's about detaching from the ego's wants, and really focusing on sort of what is the journey rather than the things that you pick up along the way. And I think where religion definitely holds value is that, again, it's another entry point, but one spirituality is distinct. Whereas I feel that maybe where the message of religion is kind of being warped over time is that it's a one-size-fits-all approach. There are principles and concepts that get you in the door to your spirituality, but your practices are all unique to you based on your values. And the universal value of every religion is humanity, oneness, love, care, compassion. Whereas what you were talking about before, Manoj, about shame, envy, lust, and all that, those are the low-level frequencies that kind of keep us stuck in where the attachments and the expectations and judgment come from, because it's a constant comparison. Whereas I would say higher energy, you're inspired by other people, whether you agree or disagree with them or not, because of the energy that they're putting out. You can elevate yourself in that setting. Another point here that Deepa's mentioned in chat as well. Thank you for engaging so much. Not having a goal would be futile, but if you recognize that these are expectations, you only recognize what is oneself, and you can have compassion.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the intention.
Yeah.
It always comes from, what is your intention? Is your intention to serve others? Is your intention to help people? Or is your intention to judge? And if your intention is to judge, then you're actually holding a mirror to yourself, and you're highlighting your own insecurities in life, right? And it's quite intriguing, isn't it, that people's intention, which is hard to measure, right, and see sometimes, right? People say things and their intention might be something else behind the words, or an email, or a text message, or WhatsApp, or verbal, or what we're doing now. People might even perceive our intention to be different to what the output is, right? And that's just a whole fascinating subject in its own right. But I think if you come from a place of love, like unconditionally, and then it's really hard to always sustain that level, let's be honest. But if you come from a place of love and you want to intentionally help someone, people see through you. People will know that you actually genuinely want to help someone. If you've got a hidden agenda, people tend to pick up, right, that you've got a hidden agenda. That, intuition, as conventional wisdom says, don't get me started on energy, but intuition, let's look at it as intuition, that spider sense, or whatever you're going to call it. Someone referenced Marvel, so I just had to put the Spider-Man reference in there. But yeah, exactly. But we all have this gut feeling, this inner voice, this calling, and we just know instinctively that something is not right for us, or something is wrong for us. But sometimes you've got to experience what is the wrong to understand what is right, and vice versa.
And therefore, labeling an experience as good or bad makes no difference unless you learn the lesson.
Absolutely. You have to live through that experience. There's no shortcuts in life, as they say. And again, that's just a pure fact. Like, if I read 100 spiritual books, am I going to be?
If I hang around with 100 monks, am I going to be spiritual? No. If I'm in the shadow of my own ego, am I going to be spiritual? No. Like, life has a way of tripping you up, which I love, because then when you fall down, guess what? Sometimes we have to be grounded in life, and life has a way of humbling us. And I think we've all been humbled by life's challenges. And then you learn, and you have a different sense of attempt to even project humility. Because not even project, but to have humility. And I don't want to get into the other subject of what's happening in the news, because we're going to cover that in a very deep way through social conditioning topic later on in a few weeks. But intention behind humanity is everything, right?
Yeah,
it's everything what we do.
Yeah, and I think life, the way we know it, is the dance between karma and free will. Karma has brought us to this moment. Free will is what we choose to do next with it. And
my favorite quote, you can't say that, not say the quote, Viraj. So my favorite quote from the Gita Life course, if anyone's listening, if you haven't done the Gita Life course, yes, this is a plug. to do the Gita Life
Oh,
course, because it is the best personal development course I've ever done, and I've done quite a few in my life. And the teacher, who was Sutta Das, who was teaching it, and I'm so thankful and grateful that I didn't know
Love that course.
who he was, because I had no expectation and judgment, right, of the outcome or the teacher. And one of the quotes that will always stick with me is life. I mean, his quote, literally, I've changed it, right, with his permission, but his quote exactly word for word is, life is an interplay between free will and destiny. My passion for music, so I put life is a dance between free will and destiny, which means that we think, and back to what somebody else said, is that we think we're masters of our universe. We're not. But it doesn't mean that everything is in karma, but it means quite a lot of things are in karma. But it doesn't mean you sit there and dwell. What are you doing about it right now in this life? What are you doing about it to serve others? I mean, I don't want to go too deep into that subject, but that's just what I'll say.
And that we are totally responsible for how we respond or not choose not to respond to a situation. And whatever happens, happens, and it happens the way it happens. But how we respond, that's our free will. And we can't blame other people for things not going our way and blame our karma for it. Whereas we have a choice in the moment to do something about it or not to do something about it. The consequences will be what they will be. But that's where we're at the center of the universe. The rest is all out there.
Absolutely. And just going back to something that you read out, was it? No, I think I know. Yeah, it was Vijay, right? Who said it? That this is a humble attempt. Please understand that religion is not synonymous with spirituality, because the lens that we see through, going back to the reference of the blind person, the lens that we see through life is individualistic, based on our upbringing and our experiences and our perspective. It's almost like if you have a chair and you sit in your house in the same seat, I challenge you, go sit in the seat that you never sit at. You'll notice things. You'll notice the smallest minute details, and it will shift. You'll have a paradigm shift in your own mindset, and that will then trickle a whole series of thoughts, and you'll realize things and you'll see things, etc. It's like this morning when I was walking, right? People probably thought I was crazy. I was having a conversation with like ponies and like donkeys. I'm like, I don't care, because I was present in the moment, enjoying life, filling my own cup. And just something that I took for granted, that's on my doorstep, a beautiful park just up the road. I'm like, wow, I'm just blown away.
I think we're going to go into overtime because there's a great question here from Deepa.
Yeah.
Karma and free will are concepts.
So I didn't hear that. Sorry, could you repeat?
Deepa's answered. And again, thank you for engaging in this chat. You've answered some really great questions there. Karma and free will are concepts.
Yes, exactly. So at their core, they are actually concepts, and those concepts have been projected and distilled and digested. So I'm actually agreeing that they are concepts. And if you
I just replied back, cause not have effect. I want to see where this goes.
Yeah, no. But if you think about, let's open this up. But if you, thank you so much, Deepa, for engaging, and much love. I don't know which Deepa Patel this is, but much love for engaging. But everything that
before we count, the one thing we want to acknowledge that none of this is a universal truth in itself. This is just
absolutely.
This is
Absolutely.
conversation.
This is just guys talking like guys talk, but without the stereotype that sometimes men have, where we're just sitting in a pub and talking about rubbish. We can get quite deep, and we're highly sensitive. And for those who don't know, last week we covered the masculine and feminine energy, and that was a very, very, very deep subject. And then we came to the realization, and I think everyone agreed, that masculine and female energy exists in us all. We just choose not to access it through a loss of a parent. We have to step in that mother figure or father figure, or it could be from a sibling perspective, etc. So life is full of challenges, right? And it's always constantly shifting our perspective and our thought process, etc. But no, but in essence, everything is a concept. Like you could, I mean, I would happy to, maybe we should do like a mixed session with our sister group, we should do a shout out. So our sister group is called Mental Wealth. And I think they're doing some joint sessions with Viru, if I'm not mistaken. I saw it on Facebook, where where it's men and women, and I would love to do a Zoom session where there's men and women, where we're talking about real conversations like we're doing now.
Deepa's replied, for sure it does, and it's been used to govern behavior when we talk about karma and free will. I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but it has not brought about any fundamental change in people. I want to take this one next. And free will, I'm not sure. We are all conditioned, not sure how much free will we have. So I think the first point in recognizing how much free will we have is how much attachment we give to our conditioning. And this is the distinction between fixed mindset and growth mindset. If you believe, I'm just going to use a very real example, that a certain group of people in the world are labeled as thieves, criminals, based on the color of their skin, that's conditioning. If you choose to not look at a group of people in a certain way, that's free will. It's your choice to want to look at that in a different way. Conditioning doesn't mean that you're fixed.
Yeah, I used to be a massive movie fan, so you know me, right? So one of my favorite movies of all time. And if you really watch The Matrix from a different state of consciousness, you'll get it, right? I'm not talking about the second or third one. I'm talking about the original one. And it's like when Neo takes I can't believe I'm doing this on Facebook Live, but Neo takes the red pill or the blue pill. There's suggestive, programmable thinking and social conditioning to that thought process, you could argue, or you could say, not argue, sorry, you could suggest, or you could say that there's free will there. When I go for walks, I don't know where I'm going. I consciously may know where I'm going, but subconsciously, there's a seed that's been planted in my head, right? Could be a book I read or something. Do I take a left when I leave my house, or do I take a right? Do I choose to smile at this person, or do I choose not to smile at this person? Again, that's judgment coming into it, right? You should really smile at everyone, but be careful, because you get people like me who talk to you on the tube like random strangers. But but there is a level of free will. This is my humble opinion. I don't know what that percentage is, because I don't know. I'm just being honest with you. There is a level of destiny that is linked with karma. Again, that's just what I intrinsically feel, because I'm experiencing it, and I'm saying this in a healthy state of mind. And even if I didn't stay in a healthy state of mind, that's okay. So I think the question of free will and destiny will forever be debated for 10,000 years and plus, because there's and it's okay, because it's all your own personal individual thinking, right? There's people who think that you've got complete free will and there's no karma and there's no action to reaction in the universe. And then you've got the other side who say, absolutely, if you don't get your reading, I'm not going to go too much into it for any Maharajis on here listening, but I'm happy to talk to them if they want to engage, right? No problem. And if you get your readings, and I've had my reading done. Now, do you prescribe to that? And if you prescribe to that, that means, are you letting go of your free will? Do you see what I mean? There's a subtlety between a balance of decision making there, between what is free will and what is destiny.
Both. That's just two ends of the spectrum, right? That's like saying north and south. And I suppose what we're suggesting is it's healthier to look at a combination of both.
Not even suggesting, we're just giving our own experiences, and we're still learning, right? And every day, we're learning that you don't know anything. I'm not talking about me. I just don't know anything. And one of my favorite, I'm not going to go too much into it now, but I've talked about it in the blogs I do on Facebook, but one of my 7 conversations with the universe is that at the essence is, please make me a better person than I was yesterday. And that's evidence that I trip up a hell of a lot in life, a hell of a lot. We all do. And if I don't experience that trip, and I don't experience that fall, just like a child, right? But a child's intelligence is so supersedes ours, because what does a child do? They dust themselves off and they get up. What do adults do? We procrastinate. We get stuck. We think we can't get up, right? I mean, that's just that's just a whole other topic. But I think we should I don't know. Thank you to everyone. I can't see the names, so apologies, but thank you to everyone who's commented and engaged. I'm not sure if there's any of the comments that you want to read out before we wrap up.
No,
Siraj,
now, it's going back to something Yuvraj said actually about, I've lost it. I'll find it. Something about how spiritual journeys are just different peaks on a mountain.
Mm.
Yeah,
That's a
everyone's
nice,
a mountain, everyone's just at a different peak along the way.
that's a nice way of looking at it. And the mountain personifying the metaphor of life is a journey that sometimes you have to travel up or climb, right? So I like that. Yeah,
And sometimes just take stock of the view along the way.
yeah, I like that.
It's peaking one.
No, I like that.
Next week, guys.
Yeah, I think I think for people who don't know, we have a pre-live that we do. I think me and you jumped on right today, and we always sort of because I think Sagar was blessed enough to do the Hanuman Chalisa and all that kind of stuff, which I couldn't join because I was too busy exploring nature in my walk. So for those of you who don't know, is that we're learning every day. The reason we challenge ourselves is to do lives is because we want to be completely unscripted and unmasked and unveiled to you guys, and we want to learn from you, because the space that we've created for the Mindful Men's Club is not our space. We've just been the catalyst or the spark that's created it. Where it goes organically, we have absolutely no idea. And the men that show up, and thank you so much to the women that encourage the men to show up, their husbands, the boyfriends, their brothers, etc., sisters, that they're getting so much out of it. But what they don't realize is it's fueling our energy. Like, we're learning so much, and then we talk literally from 10:30, which is like, or 10:45, which is a pre-live, then 11 o'clock our Zoom starts to 12:30. Sometimes it extends to then jumping on a debrief, which is this one, then probably having the odd conversation because we've gone so deep that we have to talk to each other on an individual level, and then our family is sort of thinking,
what's happened to you guys?
What's happened to you guys? You know, you're a bit too zened out. What's going on here? But
the other week, I was just sitting silently on my sofa, and I was like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "Nothing."
Who's that?
I was home after the last one.
Yeah.
I was like, "Why are you so quiet?" I'm like, "I'm not."
Who said that to you? Who said that though?
My wife. And I was
All right. Okay. But it's like what Sagar mentioned, right? Whatever your version of okay is, it's okay to be okay, right? It just literally is. It's okay to be okay. Quickly wrap up. So the reason why we do this, and I always sort of say this because for people who are new to what we're doing, is we've created a space that essentially started in the temple, which was our first live session pre-lockdown. I'm not going to mention the C word. There's enough negativity going about that in the news and tragedy, and people lost their lives. So I'll just leave that where it is there. But because of that, it's actually forced us to go inward. And I don't mean literally inward, but we've launched our Zoom sessions for men to engage. And it's challenged us to now go from monthly to bi-weekly, where we've all gone through an individual journey of mental health. Some of us has come from anxiety to all the having those dark thoughts. And the reason we're doing this is to create a space just to help one soul at a time to share. And every single man in your life, I challenge you, whoever's listening right now, is going through something that you know nothing about. So it's our humble attempt to just share a space where we create a collective consciousness together. We come together, it's private, it's not recorded Zoom. We don't take any sensitive information out of it. If there's references we make or names that we mention, it's because we've got permission and we know that the guys vibe with us and we say those things. And if you like what you heard, or if you don't like what you've heard, please share it, because we would love to learn, where we can continue to learn and evolve. And just share it. Like, it's a humble request. Like, if you want to help a man in your life, please share it. For the women who are listening, please go to the Facebook page called Mental Well. We would not be here if it wasn't for our sister group. And there's also Reroute, which is for, I believe, what's the age? Is it under 35s? Is it
Yeah.
Under 35s? Yeah. Apologies, ladies, if I got that wrong, but that's for under 35s. And then they're putting up events as well. So check out their Facebook page. And if you want us to talk about any topic, put it in the comments, or put it in the suggestion, or send us a private messenger, whatever you feel comfortable with. If you want to collaborate with us, please do. But know that we don't do business. We don't talk about business. This is seva. This is service. We're giving up so many hours because we love to, right? We love what we're doing, and we love what we're learning, and we love attempting to help one person at a time. So if there's a topic that you want us to talk about, please let us know. If you're a man and you want to come into a group and you want to actually deliver a talk, or you want to discuss how you can do that, please let us know. And we just love to support you. We are launching our YouTube channel very, very soon. So we have no idea where that's going to go. We're not. Yeah, and I think it's important to mention, we're not doing it for any other reason other than Cyber made a comment to me a couple of weeks ago in a nice way that, Manoj, what's happening with Instagram? And because we're not focused on Instagram, and there's a guy who wants to join, and I think who was it who shared it with you?
Just one of the couples, remember? And
yeah, that's right. You don't need to mention names, but yeah, one of the couples, and then they shared it, and I'm like, oh, okay, so yeah, because everyone does social media differently, right? So you might not be on Eventbrite, or you might not be on YouTube. So we've got an Eventbrite page that lists all of our next 5 events on there. So go check it out. Hashtag Mindful Men's Club. Check out our Facebook page. The only reason we're doing YouTube is because we realized that there's people who don't even do Facebook and Instagram, but just actually on YouTube, which is awesome, right? So that's just another avenue and a channel to open up a conversation, and that's all it is.
I think
that's all it is.
We kind of there was that quote, I think, from Vishen Lakhiani that we were talking about. Sometimes you have to destroy a part of your life to let the next meet up. And when we started off with the physical meetup at the Manor. COVID kicked in. We're like, okay, let's take this online. Started going Facebook page, and we're like, well, what, if there's a natural kind of calling, it's not about reinventing the wheel, but it's about embracing the evolution. And I think the Zoom session is great. It's just a way to reach more people on a different platform so that they can just be part of the conversation that we just had an hour or so ago, and just different means to connect with people to have them be a part of this space, which, that's what we're all committed to doing, is how can we make this as accessible and as open and as inclusive as possible. And I think that message that you got there, Saga, was great, because it was like, if there are other people that we can definitely connect with, and how can we connect with these people? And it's purely for the sake of that. It's just opening this thing up to as many people as possible, to get what we've been experiencing for the last few weeks now, few months nearly, and just to continue to evolve that.
And I've realized that I think the reason why we can be so open and serve is good, but do seva from literally the highest frequencies, because clearly us three, and Havan, of course, who's not here, we don't do this for the likes, right? And I keep mentioning that because that expectation of likes and how many people are viewing, we actually, not saying don't care, but we're not doing it for the likes and the number of viewers, because indirectly, as I said to Manoj, indirectly, clearly it's reaching people, because otherwise people would have not reached out on Instagram, right? But we don't know how that person got to know about us, but they did. So whether we're seeing them on live or not commenting, we know that they're getting something out of it. So as I said, thank you so much, and I know Manoj and Viraj will mean the same thing, that people who are engaging, especially the women, because sometimes when men actually want to say something and talk about their problems, we're deemed to be weak. So instead we just shut down. However, when guys have a very close female friend, and guys will talk to females instead of talking to males, because the whole thing about man up, girls will talk to females because females are more likely to understand and take it in. And so as a woman, if you know any men that will benefit from coming and joining the Mindful Men's Club, as I said, please do direct them to the website, or to the Facebook page and Instagram page, because again, we don't force anyone to talk, and we've seen since February the amount of people that had their videos off and did not say anything, but just we were just talking amongst ourselves. It was just four of us talking. But and you know, the more we shared our journey, the more people opened up. So, you know, as a woman, don't feel like we're not taking your comments on board. Trust me, we are, because we know that you're the ones that are actually pushing your mates or your husbands or your boyfriends or whatever it is for joining the group, and hopefully they're getting stuff out of it which will improve your relationship with whoever you're with and with everyone else, right? So no, thank you so much. And yeah, Manoj, I'll let you talk about next week's session. I think it's money mindset, right?
I thought you were going to give it to Viraj. I did a lot of talking. No, sorry, it's okay. So I'll do it. Yeah. So next week's session is about money mindset, and it's a topic that we're just being very sensitive about, which is people have lost their jobs, people are on furlough. You know, my own wife Nita, she's on furlough. She's a travel agent. So that industry is just absolutely, yeah, it's just completely collapsed, and it's got to kind of be reborn again, right? And that will take 3-4 years. So money mindset, and just before I explain what that is, so our humble attempt and our tagline is connect, grow, and inspire. So we hope to connect with all the men, you know, that share their stories. We hope to collectively grow together, because one of my favorite hashtags, as you guys know, is that, you know, we rise together, and I literally mean that, right? We rise together. There's no point in you being successful in life if you don't take people with you, and whatever your definition of success is. And then it's inspire. Not that you should be inspired by us. No. If you are inspired by having some sort of connection that you feel that there's a man in your life that will benefit, that's the whole definition of inspire. And then all the topics that we talk about, half of them aren't even topics that we've thought of. They're topics from our audience, just like you guys, whoever's listening to this, or whoever watches it on replay. If you do hashtag replay and comment, so you know, so we can engage with you, and we literally respond to every single comment, whatever it is. And the whole point of money mindset is we need to be really sensitive, right? There's people, and I was in this situation myself not so long ago, who are in financial difficulty, and people have lost their jobs and losing their jobs. And we've got a collective bunch of men who just might have something value added to share, whether it's a technique, tool, system. And again, we don't talk business, and we don't sell any of our services, that's not allowed, but something for free that we share, the evidence through authenticity that actually has helped us individually in our lives. And we talk about it, because if it could help someone, let's say apply for work or nail their interview or launch the idea or sustain their business, because a lot of restaurants, let's say a lot of friends I know that the restaurants are failing right now, fledgling, because not enough people are supporting small businesses. It's just to open up that whole plethora of conversation of where can we go with money mindset? What can you take away from it? What can we take away from it, and how can it help us create that financial abundance that we will crave in our life? Let's be honest with you, that we will need to sustain that roof over us. And I mean, I can go on, but sorry, that was a long version of.
We can talk about it from the spiritual context. That again, Gita Life, that's something something that we looked at in terms of where that fits in as well. But yeah, looking forward to it. So for anyone that's watching right now, you can go to our Eventbrite page and you can register for the event itself. It is men's only, so we do check in with the integrity of the group as well, just to ensure that's the case. And then please do like our Facebook page, our Instagram, Eventbrite. We're gonna again, we've got some really cool things that are coming up to really serve the community and put some energy into the lives as well. And yeah, I'm excited. Like this week was a bonus one that we did because we just didn't want to leave the conversation we had a few weeks ago where it was. We wanted to continue. And actually, Deepa again raised a great point, which I think is what we can talk about when we look at social conditioning. Isn't religion social conditioning?
100%. My humble opinion, yes. I'm just going to leave it there. I was going to open up a whole debate.
Look up for that deeply, because that's another kind of worms I feel we could spend an hour talking about too. But Deepa, thank you, and Yuvraj, everyone that's tuning in live, thank you guys so much for for your energy, your comments, for, again, as Sagar said, just spreading the word and just making this available to as many people as possible. Guys, I've had a blast as always. I'm looking forward to next week. I'm just gonna zen out for about half an hour and just let it all like
process. Yeah. Don't be calling me now, Viraj. I'm gonna have a bite to eat. I'm gonna go get some more steps in and go for my walk. Yeah, you can call me later. But heartfelt gratitude. I'll let Saga have the final word because I talk a lot. But just want to say heartfelt gratitude, and that's all. I'm just gonna leave it there to everyone who supported us. Saga, do you want to just?
That's it. Yeah, thank you. And we keep saying this, but thank you so much, because if it wasn't for you, it would be very hard to choose topics. And again, it's the men who are sharing what topics they want covered. And again, you don't have to join every session. And I'm just going to finish it off with this. You don't have to join every session. The reason why we've thought of the topics until sort of mid-August is because you may feel like money mindset is not something you want to come into, but you might want to come into another one, which we do later on. So attend whichever one suits you guys, and which is why we're trying to think ahead and not just put a topic out 1 week in advance. So, and again, if you need or have any questions, as Manoj and Viraj said, please do leave a note or message on the Mindful Men's Club group, and we'll reply as soon as we can. Or you can reach out to us individually if you feel that's something you want to do. Whichever way you want to reach out, please do reach out, guys. But yeah, no, thank you for connecting. This is awesome.
It's a really. I promise you something on this, but you will get me started. It's a really interesting point you made. There is no expectation, if you're a guy, to come in and then prescribe, for what better words, and feel pressured that you have to go through all the sessions. The reason we put all the events up with the foresight is that it's just like a radio station, right? You might be on Sunrise, I might be on Roots FM because I like reggae, for example, right? You dial in, you dial out to whatever topic you feel is relevant in your life in this present moment. And if you feel that it vibes with you, connect, join it. If you don't, then don't. So it's just like a, what do you call those sliding doorways you have in restaurants, right? It's just like free flowing. Yeah, exactly. So just feel free to come in as you go, as you please. Feel free to never show your video. Feel free to never even talk. Feel free to put comments in the chat. Feel free just to sit there and observe. Just whatever is the right thing for you to do. It's not our space, like we mentioned, it's your space. But listen, have a super, super blessed weekend. And much love to everyone, and God bless. And yeah, see you guys next week, whoever's joining us on Money Mindset. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.